Donna Henches.
Here.
Ray Huber, here. Tom Bonhoff.
Here.
Barb Johnson.
Here.
And Lee Watson.
Here.
Okay, introductions of staff. Brad Davis, our planning manager. Marty Schmidt, zoning administrator. Greg Wagner, our principal planner. Nathan Hall, our associate planner. Barb Simonson, our deputy clerk. I don't know if our county commissioner here. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is approval of December 12, 2001 minutes. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. Any changes or deletions or corrections? Not to have a motion to approve the December 12th, 2021 minutes.
I move we approve the minutes from December 12, 2021.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve December 12th, 2021 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. In favor, say nay. Minute.
Mr. Chair, I abstain.
Abstain. Wait. I probably should abstain too.
I'll abstain too.
3 abstentions and 4 yea. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is public hearing for energy variance number PL 2022-006. Request for variance to increase the maximum ratio of attached garage from 100% to 114% of the house footprint located in section 21. Cedar Lake Township, currently zoned RR1C. And Nathan, you gonna handle this?
Correct, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. The subject property is located in section 21 of Cedar Lake Township. And it's a 6.26 acre parcel that has an existing home that's over in the northeast of the the property has, the home is located in the northeast corner of the property. It has a frontage on Newport Avenue, and it slopes towards a wetland that dominates the center of the parcel. There in that image. The home has a footprint of about 1,400 square feet and attached garage of about 800 square feet. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the maximum ratio of attached garage from 100% to 114% of the house footprint in order to construct a wood shop with a footprint of about 800 square feet. The total would be 1,600 square feet for the attached garage and the wood shop area, and that would be about 114% of the footprint of the house. Section 4-3-9 of Scott County zoning ordinance does not permit the attached garage to be larger than the footprint of the house, and therefore limit the attached garage and the wood shop to be no larger than 1,400 square feet. The proposed wood shop would be added to the north side of the attached garage. The wood shop would be 20 feet by 40 feet, and also have a basement and an attic for storage. The applicant states they're proposing the wood shop at the minimum size that is needed, and they have provided a detailed explanation as to why it needs to be at those particular dimensions. The property would be allowed up to a 3,600 square foot detached accessory structure, like a pole barn or a detached garage, if there were a feasible location to place the structure. So while this property is over 6 acres, much of the property is within the drainage and utility easement that surrounds the central wetland. And we can see on this image, you can see that this is all drainage and utility easement. That's what's noted here.
Would you speak up a little bit, a little louder?
Yes, Mr. Rob. So the we can see in this image here that this back portion of the property, all of this is noting here, is drainage and utility easement that cannot be built on, cannot have an accessory building placed on it. Their septic sites are down here to the south of the home, taking up that area, and so there really isn't much area at all, really, to place any kind of accessory structure on the site. And so that's why they're proposing this structure as an attached structure. The Scott County Environmental Services Department has reviewed the request and has no opposition to the variance. The septic system was built in 2019, therefore they don't even need a compliance inspection. Alternate site is already identified. All the setbacks will be met regarding the septic system. Addition will require a building permit, but the Scott County Building Department and also the Natural Resources Department have no opposition to the variance request. Staff is supportive of this request for the variance to increase the maximum ratio from 100% to 114% of the house footprint based on the 8 criteria for granting the variance that is listed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of the request. The applicant is here tonight, and I will certainly stand by for any questions.
Mr. Chair, can you go back to the picture of this site for a minute? Or is it hard?
Yep. Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Robbins, the aerial,
The aerial view, yeah.
aerial view, yeah, we'll get up to that.
Okay. Now, the house, I assume, is up in the northeast, or up there. That's the house.
Correct.
And the garage is gonna be where? Right?
The garage is going to be just to the north of that, right here.
All right. So they're proposing to build a garage that's a little bigger than the footprints of the house, right?
Correct. They're planning to expand the attached garage, making the wood shop addition onto the attached garage.
Okay, all right.
All
right, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions from this board?
No.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to know, it's a wood shop, but does he do something with business? Does he need a conditional use permit? And I also want to know if he ever sells a property, if that could be made into like a 3-story apartment with a basement, or what are the future plans?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, regarding the potential for it to be an apartment, do not allow multiple family dwellings. However, if this met the requirements, it could be outfitted correctly to meet all the requirements, the size requirements, all the particulars that we have for an accessory dwelling unit, and was occupied by a family member or a licensed caregiver. They could potentially use it as a dwelling unit. Regarding the use of it for a business, we have not, my understanding is just for hobby use, but the applicant is here and could answer that.
I'd like to have him do that.
Would you like the applicant to address that?
Yes.
If the applicant could address that?
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Hagee.
Hi.
So as it goes to this structure, my hobby is woodworking. I have a bunch of woodworking equipment, and I have it all right now down in our basement. And it's driving my wife nuts. So with that being said, everything I've done to control the dust and whatnot hasn't worked. So now cutting a sheet of plywood goes into me vacuuming the whole main floor. So with this building, this is our forever home in New Prague. We've moved multiple times. I love to build furniture for myself as well as my parents for gifts, my aunts and uncles. Every time my friend gets married, they always get a kitchen table from me. So it's kind of it's a labor of love that goes into all my furniture. I work in corporate America. I have no desire to start a small business. My company's based out of New Jersey, and I just landed here from Sacramento, California, for this meeting. So I hope that answers your question, but this will be a long-term hobby area for myself.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chairman. Now, you have 6 acres, so you don't have a neighbor real close by, but does it generate much noise?
No. It's all enclosed, right? My neighbors don't even notice me other than carrying a sheet of plywood right now down and around the back of my house and going in the basement door.
Any other questions from the board? Go ahead.
On the north side, is that a drainage, a field drainage, or is that considered a wetland? Is that field or is that highway drainage?
Yep.
On the north side, it looks.
Yep, so what it does is my property all slopes in. My pond is considered storm drainage. It wasn't there before they made the development in 2005.
So it's development.
It's 100% development, yep, and there is a channel that runs on the north side, and you can see it on the dotted plan or the black and white picture. But there is a drainage trench that runs through there, and that goes underneath of the road and then actually spills into another storm drain area down by the farmer's field on the other side.
So that water runs that way, or does it run towards your pond?
It runs down that way. So my pond is higher, I call it my pond, my storm drainage area is higher than, the one that's technically to the east of me.
Any other questions? Not from the board. This is a public hearing. Anybody like to address the board regarding this variance? Not to have a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, nay. Okay, and your wishes on this variance?
Mr. Chair, based upon the 8 hardship criteria for granting a variance, I recommend the approval of the requested variance to increase the maximum ratio of attached garage from 100% to 114% of the house footprint.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance. All in favor, indicate by aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, nay. Okay, the variance has been approved. Next item is another variance for Jim Clem, a variance number PL 2022-007. Request for variance from the maximum impervious lot coverage of 25 to 39% to replace a single-family home, Section 12, Helena Township, currently zoned RR3. And Nathan, you're gonna run with this one too.
Correct, Mr. Chair. Excuse me, the subject property is located in Section 12, Helena Township. It is a 10,114 square foot parcel that sits between, County Highway 64 and, Cedar Lake. The existing home has a detached garage, that sits within the front and side setbacks of the property. Between the existing, house, the garage, the driveway, the property currently has 39.6% impervious surface area. Therefore, there's no net increase being proposed with this request. Applicant intends to remove all the existing structures and the driveway, and the new construction will be a single-story home with a walkout level. And there would also be an attached garage and also a water-oriented accessory structure down towards the water, which is permitted up to 200 square feet. Originally, they had a circle driveway design. It was proposed that was later altered to address access standards onto County Highway 64. The required setbacks to the property line and also to the ordinary high water level would also be met, both through the standard meeting of setbacks and also through averaging here of the two properties adjacent. The property is connected to the Cedar Lake sewer system and does not have an individual septic system. The applicant has provided this site plan with lot coverage calculations provided for each individual area. Prior to construction, a survey prepared by a licensed surveyor will be needed to illustrate that the property is compliant with the lot coverage amount approved by the board. The applicant has proposed that there would be professionally designed rain gardens to mitigate the runoff from the impervious surfaces. This area of Cedar Lake was developed in the late 50s and the early 60s, before there were any setback standards or impervious standards adopted. There have been a number of variances in recent years on Cedar Lake, but those have all been for the reduction of setbacks. They haven't been for impervious surface. And however, there are numerous existing properties, especially on the north side of the lake, that do not conform with the lot coverage requirements, that have been allowed to remain unaltered. Staff has been reviewing a number of parcels here on the north side of Cedar Lake, just the best way we can through aerial imagery, and appears that many of the parcels, they're between 22% to 45%, so there's a range. And, the small legal non-conforming size of this parcel, it does pose, challenges, for building a modern home in such a way that they can meet the 25%, impervious lot coverage requirement that's required in the shoreland district. As the applicant points out, there are the other neighboring properties that also exceed the minimum. The Scott County, zoning ordinance requires that the requested variance is the minimum variance, which would alleviate the hardship. And so it is conceivable that the water-oriented accessory structure could be reduced in size, or additional garage, stalls could be eliminated, decreasing the amount of the variance. Staff understands that this is a significant variance, and if, based on the conversation here tonight, the board sees fit to reduce the amount of the variance, they may suggest removal of a garage stall, removal of part of the driveway, something of that nature. That would be something the board could consider. The Scott County Natural Resources Department would like to emphasize that the rain gardens will need to be professionally designed for on-site stormwater management. And the DNR has not provided a formal written comment, but they have stated their view that the impervious surface should be reduced. Helena Township Board has recommended approval of the request, and based on the small legal non-conforming size of this parcel, staff is supportive of a variance to increase the impervious lot coverage maximum above 25%. The applicants are here, the owner's property, and I will certainly stand by for any questions.
Nathan, I have a couple questions and I'll open up to the board, but you said all setbacks are within limits that we have set, all front setback and side setbacks meet our standards?
Correct, Mr. Chair, yep. The front setback here is the 25 feet.
Okay.
And the side is 10, and, on the ordinary high water level, they're using averaging. The normal would be 75 feet, but they're able to get down to, I believe it's 42, 43 feet, something like that.
So they're averaging other houses at about 35 on the average, which probably is reasonable for back when they built them. In the rain gardens, environmental services find that as a reasonable way to help on the runoff? It seems reasonable to me.
Natural Resources Department, they did state that they would need to be professionally designed, and they would need to be contained, but that is a way to help improve the situation from what it would be and what it is currently.
Any questions from this board regarding this variance?
Mr. Chairman, is the applicant aware of the rain garden? I guess I didn't see that in the write-up. Is he aware that he needs to do the rain garden?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, the applicant did propose the rain garden.
Okay.
And they could maybe speak more to their plans for that.
Therefore, the rain garden.
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, additionally, they have a two-car garage and then a one-car detached garage? I'm clear in this.
Yep. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, what they are proposing on site is a car attached garage, so that will there be a two-car attached garage, a one-car attached garage that they're proposing for their boat, I believe. Then they're also proposing a small accessory structure, a 200-square-foot accessory structure by the water.
That goes towards the lot coverage?
Correct. All those would be counted towards the impervious lot coverage.
Sure. I've been to the site, and all the houses, or all the structures on the site that are there would be removed now, including all the asphalt and all pervious surfaces, right? Is that the plan?
Correct, yeah, so everything.
And then, is there modification to the lake shore on that plan from what's there? I can't tell, I couldn't tell from where I was at if there was any modification to the lake shore. And then the only question I had about the proposed idea of putting the boathouse there is, can you put a structure right on the ordinary high water line? I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure how close that has to be set back, and I'm sure you probably have that information.
Correct. So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Von Hoff, regarding the water-oriented accessory structure, which is how the DNR would call it, it can't be technically a boathouse for boat storage, but it can be for life jacket storage, fishing equipment, that sort of thing. That can be up to 10 feet within from the ordinary high water level.
Right.
And according to DNR regulations, it can be something 300 square feet, but according to our ordinance, we're looking at it as the one shed that's allowed on the property up to 200 square feet that's not meeting the other requirements of the ordinance. So 100 square feet is our requirement.
And then the impervious surface calculations include all of the paved surfaces and proposed, and I can't tell if that's gonna be like a patio out there or anything like that as well.
Yep. And so the applicant, I did ask the applicant about this. This hasn't been on all their drawings. They do some pavers here. I asked them about that. They said that would not be included in the final plan. That was from an earlier rendition. And so we would require them to have a survey when they come in for a building permit for this house, required for any home build on a lot of this size. And they will need to note what all the lot coverage is going to be in there.
And the current structures of what's there right now is 39.6 with everything impervious surface. And what they're saying is that what they want to build is exactly the same of what's existing there now for the new building.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Not, this is a public hearing. Anybody like to address the board regarding this variance? Oh, another question?
Well, it's just that if they have a third garage, they could put their boat, everything in there. I guess I think they're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit here to have that 200 square foot. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but, another 200 square foot. Rest of the board thing.
That is taken into the, overall calculations, the boathouse? It is, okay.
I think she's talking about the accessory, though, so, for the lake.
What accessory?
Well, the accessory for the lake,
The boathouse.
the boathouse.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Right, Barbie, you're talking
Yes.
about the boathouse,
Yeah.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, the applicant may be able to better speak to their need for the water-oriented accessory structure and why they're proposing the additional stall, the garage.
Or I'd like to have the applicant come up.
Yes.
The applicant can come up and speak to this.
So, I'm Greg Kolbeck, with the plan here, but, the whole purpose of the boat storage, shed was to put life jackets and the tubes and stuff, so it's not cluttering up the backyard, things like that, and kayaks, yeah, just so we don't have a mess in the backyard. And, as we're aging here and my wife is retired, I'll be soon retired, my thought was that if we didn't have a storage unit down there for the fishing gear, for the life jackets, things like that, then I'd have to walk all the way up around the house and put it in the garage, clutter up the garage. So I needed some place for access down there just to clean everything up and store the stuff down by the, and being that it is R3, we are allowed 200 down there, and that was factored into that 39%, which is actually a little bit less than the 39.6 that we usually have right now. So that was the thought, to have it down there. The bricks that you do see down there, would be permeable, so that they would allow water to seep through, along with the driveway we were talking about that, but the DNR counts it against us, even though they're permeable bricks, which I didn't fully understand either. So we had to cut back in certain areas because making those considerations. And again, like Nathan said, originally we had talked about a circle driveway in the front of the house that we could come into the garage and then turn around and come back out to the County Road 64, which is a 55-mile-an-hour. Now, we've made a consideration to do that, and now I'm a little bit worried because we're cutting back that backing out of the garage we could pose problems with having to back out onto that busy road. So with those cutbacks, it's like, okay, we need a driveway to back out and then come out facing forward to that busy road. You know, as we age, it's a little bit hard to back out on that road, so, you know, that would be the other consideration or something that, you know, we would have to factor into this plan, but just some thoughts.
If you did something like that, you could probably put pavers or something like that,
Yeah.
instead of concrete, so it'd be permeable.
Yeah, have you seen the concrete where they have the grass that grows between them?
Yeah, yeah.
So you have a surface like that, and the water would seep through, it wouldn't affect any of the, impervious.
Exactly. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, the township is represented. I don't know if they wanted to make any comments. The township is here if they wanted to make any additional comments.
Township like to address this?
I did need it, but
Come up to the podium, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Ed Needis, a supervisor on Helena Township, and they came to us and showed us what they were gonna do, and we thought if they meet all the requirements of the county, that it was okay with us.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? The public hearing, anybody like to address the board regarding this variance? Not, I have a motion to close the public hearing. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor? Okay. And then your wishes on this variance.
Mr. Chairman, based on the 8 hardship criteria for granting a variance, I recommend approval of the requested variance from the maximum impervious lot coverage 25% to 39.6% to replace a single-family home, recognizing that the township approves it and indicating that this accessory building would remain part of the plan.
A motion, do you have a second?
Second.
A motion, a second, approve the variance. All in favor, indicate by aye.
Nay. Nay.
Nay, one nay. This would be 6 ayes. Okay, the variance has been approved. Last thing on the agenda is the election of officers for the Board of Adjustment. Okay, I guess we'll open up nomination for Chair of Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Ray Huber.
Do I have any other nominations? Do I have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Not, motion to close, nominations.
Motion closed. Second.
Have a motion to close, the nominations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, nomination have been closed, and, vote on, I guess the vote on Ray Huber as the, Chair of Board of Adjustment. All in favor for Ray Huber being the Chair of the Board of Adjustment, indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I appreciate everybody's, confidence in me being the Chair. Okay, so, next thing would be open for nomination for Vice Chair of Board of Adjustment. Do I have any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I nominate Donna Henches.
Have any other nominations? Have any other nominations? Any other nominations? If not, do I have a motion to close the, nominations? So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the nominations. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Then, close nominations. Okay, vote on nomination for, Vice Chair of Board of Adjustment, Donna Henches. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
I guess, I have to say congratulations, Donna, being the Vice Chair of the Board of, Adjustments. Last thing, historically, I just wanted to know, especially the new people on the board, historically, we had the secretary being the deputy clerk, Barb. So, I have open nomination for Secretary of Board of Adjustment.
I'll move to have Barb Simonson be our,
You have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Do I have a motion to close the nominations?
I'll move to close.
I have a motion, second to close the nominations. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Okay, yes. And we'll vote on, for Secretary Board of, Barb, Barb, excuse me.
Simonson.
Yeah. Barb Simonson, for Secretary of Board of Adjustment. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Barb, now the Secretary again. Okay, is there anything else? Okay. Anything else from the board? I'll have a motion to close, Board of Adjustment. I have a motion to second close, Board of Adjustment. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Board of Adjustments is closed, and we turn it on to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I call to order the March 14th, 2022 Scott County Planning Advisory Commission meeting. We'll start with our roll call, with all the commissioners. Donna Henches.
Here.
Kent Robbins. Here. Ray Huber. Here. Jay Pica. Here. Barbara Johnson.
Here.
Lee Watson. Here. Tom Von Hoff. Here. Also present this evening, directly across from me, is Brad Davis, our planning manager. Next to him is Marty Schmitz, our zoning administrator. Next to him is Nathan Hall, our associate planner. And at the end of the table across from me, in front of the computer, is Greg Wagner, our principal planner. Back at the table behind us over there, across, is Barb Simonson, and she is deputy clerk of the board. Also in the back of the room, standing up there, is our county commissioner, Tom Wolf, this evening. The first item of business that we have is the approval of the February 14th, 2022 Planning Advisory Commission meeting minutes. I know all the commissioners have been sent a copy of the minutes. They had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes as printed? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 14th Planning Advisory Commission meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Robbins. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Pica. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item is our consent agenda. We do not have any items in our consent agenda. We do have 3 public hearings tonight. There was a 4th public hearing that has been moved to a future night, and that was the request number 2022-09. It's a request to approve an interim use permit for IPS Solar to construct and operate a 1 megawatt community solar energy system. So if you're here for that, that's been moved to another date. But we do have 3 other Plan Advisory Commission meeting public hearings this evening. So we'll start with the first one, and this is number 2022-010. Request to approve a conditional use permit for commercial restoration nursery for RGA Holdings LLC, the applicant, and Landmark Elite LLC, the property owner, in Section 16 of St. Lawrence Township. Excuse me. Greg Wagner, our principal planner, will be making the staff report this evening. Good evening, Mr. Wagner.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. On the screen is the subject property. For location purposes, this is U.S. Highway 169 along the north, and then County Road 59 on the east side of the property. This is a 40-acre site in St. Lawrence Township. And switching over to the aerial photo, probably most familiar to the north of this property is the Jordan Supper Club. The property has an existing 50 by 200 building that was previously used for other commercial endeavors tied to former ownership of the Jordan Supper Club property. The building was constructed, as a livery stable, so it previously had horses. And then you see to the west and to the south are outdoor pasture areas, that were used for the horse operations. And then further to the west on the property is a large, start of a large wetland complex that extends to the south and further to the west. So the request before the board, the commission tonight is from, Landmark Elite is the property owner, and Resource Environmental Solutions LLC is the applicant for the use of the building, which they plan to convert over to a restoration nursery. Resource Environmental Solutions, formerly Applied Ecological Services, had previously been located on a 10-acre site in Spring Lake Township since 2004. So they had been operating their office and installation services for their nursery for close to 20 years on the site in Spring Lake, and now are looking to relocate to this building. Resource Environmental Solutions, as indicated, is a commercial nursery operation. They do wetland restoration and projects in partnership with many local governments, including Scott County and the Scott Soil and Water Conservation District. What they do is design wetland restoration, so similar to our previous item with like rain gardens and things like that. They do a lot of natural vegetative plantings, and so a lot of this site will be used eventually for growing of native prairie grass plants, where they harvest seeds from those plantings for use in their project. The building itself will be used for office personnel. They have up to 20 employees that work seasonally. They have like 6 to 8 office employees and then seasonal crews that would come to the site during the project season, typically April through October, November. But mainly the site would be used for office personnel and for those seasonal employees to pick up equipment. Yep. All right. So this is the site plan of the property. So as indicated, the building's there. There's an entrance off of Delaware Avenue, which is County Road 59, that comes into the site. And then these areas here are 2 5-acre plots that the applicants will be working on for their native prairie seedings. So the nursery component of this is growing of those plantings and then doing the harvesting. That process takes time. For native plantings, they have to remove the vegetation that's there, which has been pasture area for horses, and then get the soil prepped for that native prairie seeding. Commercial nurseries, this property is zoned urban business reserve. So this area is outside the city of Jordan. I want to go back to the site plan. City of Jordan is just up the road to the east. City of Jordan and St. Lawrence Township have a annexation agreement that extends down to County Road 59, but does not cross County Road 59. So land to the east of Delaware Avenue is in an annexation agreement with the City of Jordan, but this property is not included in that agreement. But this property is guided in the future land use plan for City of Jordan as commercial or industrial use, so future business. Therefore, county has it guided as urban business reserve. In that district, the UBR district, we don't want intensive land uses. We don't want a lot of other structures being built because this area will be annexed someday and will be provided with services that would allow it to develop more intensely. So when we met with the applicants in the township and the City of Jordan a couple months ago at a development and review team meeting, Jordan commented on that, and then in your packet tonight, there should have been a letter from the City of Jordan. We did send this application to the city, and their response was generally supportive of the request because the applicants are not making a more intensive use of the site. They're just remodeling the building and then using the outdoor area as I've discussed. So as indicated, there's parking to the north. There's plenty of parking spaces to the north, and then the septic sites are located just to the west of the building. So those have been reviewed by environmental services, and the number of employees does fit with the septic capacity of those, systems. Inside the building, as indicated, this was previously a horse stable, so they have been working to remodel, and you can see the office area towards the front. This would be the north of the building. And then the back part of the building will be used for various storage of equipment and probably, seed product, during the, construction installation season. In addition to the letter you received from the city, in your packet was a recommendation from St. Lawrence Township. The applicants met with them back in February, and the township did recommend approval, with the condition limited outdoor storage and meeting county code. There will not be, any outdoor storage here. As indicated, most of the building will be used, or the southern half of the building will be used for that, storage, to meet the storage needs of the applicant. Staff has recommended approval of the request. I would happily stand for any questions. I know the township is here. I don't know that the applicants are here to answer questions, but, St. Lawrence Township is here too.
Mr. Chair. Commissioner Robbins? So, Mr. Wade, let me understand, the county supports this, but they have strongly stated that they, in the future, 5 or 6 years down the line, they don't want any intensification of development on the site. Is that my understanding?
When you said the county or the city?
Excuse me, Jordan, City of Jordan.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Robbins, so this area, as I indicated, is beyond the annexation agreement that the township and the city have, but someday, we don't know the date, but someday this area would be annexed into the city of Jordan. So the city and county are on, in agreement, and the township, I believe, that we would not want more intensive use of this property, because we know this will be annexed into the city someday and provided with municipal services. So what the city, county, township really don't want happening here is a use coming in that's gonna build more buildings that would be more difficult for redevelopment in the future. So this use just repurposes a building that's already there. They're not expanding it, they're not adding more buildings. So what the city is saying in their letter and in conversations with county staff is that, they feel this use would be appropriate as an interim use.
As an interim?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Huber?
Greg, yeah, I would think, a nursery would be ideal for holding a piece of property when they're not expanding for commercial reserve, because I assume down the line, they're looking at some retail or warehouse or some type of development here. So it'd be a perfect, kind of a holding area, intermediate use, for that type of area, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Huber, that's a good point when you say future, and commercial. That's one thing I didn't point out. So this intersection of 169 and 59, there is, it's planned for some sort of interchange. So this intersection, in the near future, likely will be redesigned for some sort of interchange. There are no plans currently for that, so we don't exactly know what that will look like. The applicants are aware of that. County Highway was involved in our preliminary meetings. So once that interchange design process begins, the applicants and property owners will be, kept up to speed on what that is and probably, invited and participate in those discussions.
I would assume, based on commercial stuff, and they were redoing the interchange, they would start looking at frontage roads or backage roads and things like that for this area down in the future.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair. Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Greg, that's the old Ames place.
Yep.
Does this conditional use permit have a limit on the number of employees that are there?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Henches, there is no limitation on number of employees, but the one concern with employees is the septic and wastewater. So they have the narrative that the applicants provided to the county and to environmental services. They, other than the office personnel, and they've indicated like every other entity, many of those have transitioned to kind of a hybrid working at home. They don't anticipate they would ever have a full set of office people in the office. And then during the spring, summer, fall months, when they're doing their nursery projects, their installation staff would only, come to the site, pick up equipment or materials, and then go to the job site. So, as they've explained it, there's not going to be ever fully 20 people. They said they have 20 employees, but they would not all be on site at the same time.
And Greg, the reason I'm asking is that building was used by Ames for Horses, but then the front of it, that's the office now, the Arabian Horse Times magazine worked out of there.
Yep.
And I think that they office maybe 10 or 12 people in that office.
Yep.
And I know we didn't see conditional use permit on it. What a shock from, but it is set up like that right
Yep.
now, so that you could have a lot of people in an office setting.
Yeah. They just told us they don't feel that they'd ever
Okay,
have a full office based on work styles today, but
wanted to ask the question.
Sure, so they're gonna redo the soil, work it all up and everything, so do they have tractors? And if so, are they stored in this building where it says storage? Looks like there might be an overhead door. If they have something like that, then do we have to worry about oil changing and gas?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, I don't know the type of equipment. I mean, it's typically, skid loader type equipment or utility type equipment. So as far as larger equipment, I don't believe they have tractors. Their site in Spring Lake did not have large tractors, so I do not believe that they have that. If they are doing things like oil changes, any business needs to be inspected for a hazardous waste permit, so that would be part of the review once the permit's issued anyway, so.
Have both townships represented, St. Lawrence and Spring Lake? I first would ask if Spring Lake ever had an issue with this. He's shaking his head no.
That's, maybe if you want to get up and just say that, just, so we don't, what you said from the audience, we don't have any record.
Sorry, Chuck, Ted Kowalski with Spring Lake Township. No, they were here a long time, right down the street from me. Hardly knew they were there. Yeah. Very, very appreciative of what they had.
Okay. And the, St. Lawrence, sure, as well? Either one can go.
Ed Cornder, I serve on the town board for St. Lawrence. The first thing you can do is take the letter from Jordan, tear it up and throw it in the garbage. We are not very appreciative of the fact that Jordan is dictating policy in township land that they have no jurisdiction over other than your Met Council and your 2020 comp plan. We've had several businesses that have looked at this, and the city of Jordan objected to it. Let's just say I don't appreciate getting thrown out of City Hall, but I did, and I'll do it again in a heartbeat. We have some issues with Jordan, but we're not here to put this thing down by any means. That's a step above and beyond. I will say for a fact, we have had a meeting with Scott County and with staff from MnDOT. The interchange is on the table. There will be some traffic issues at some point through here. We are scheduled for design and layout in 2022. Bluff Drive and down by Simstone and by the Yard is scheduled for construction starting now, this coming 2022 and completion in 23. We should start construction in St. Lawrence in 23, finishing 24. And the intersection in 9 and 282 with the signal light is scheduled for 25, 26. That's fact. County has money down on this. It'll be a county project. Real quickly, it's a folded diamond, and all of the interchange will be to the east of County Road 59 and the Township Road to the north, Delaware. It'll be a bridge over the highway, and so you'll have the loops and the entrance ramps. It'd be very similar to Highway 19, somewhat similar to Belle Plains a little bit too, but not quite. This is the core of our business district. Townships need revenue too, guys. I don't like the idea of somebody telling me that some of these prior deals that we can't put a building or a business out here, because revenue should be in. What I've seen happen here in my lifetime is multiple buildings worth millions of dollars are in the wrong spot and they disappear. So development will do onto that. It is a good idea. We struggled with MnDOT and with county since 2001 to preserve the right-of-way for a potential overpass. So that's happened. Now, let's get down to the fact of the business down here. They're very welcome in the township. It's very low-keyed. They're a good fit. It's it's no different than if it's right across the street, they farm the land, it'll be very similar to that. There'll be some in and out traffic. The parking lot is ample. When the construction and the plans get forwarded up here, I'm sure we'll make sure you guys see some of the design for, there will be some frontage network in here that's the J-turns are gonna go. You guys can have a couple if you need them. And we gotta deal with the candy store and the other stuff along here, but, it's all workable. So, any other questions on?
Does the board have any more questions?
Mr. Chairman, I did kind of wonder when it says the city recommends that the applicant wants to make a significant site investment and increase the intensity of site, that the property owner submit a petition to annex into the city or look for properties within the city limits.
You know, that's when you're a good neighbor and we allowed them to put a trunk sewer line. We gave them an easement through the township and now they think they own it. So that's not quite the case yet.
It just looks strange to me.
And that's some of the confusion that's out there right now. You know, it's like, the annexation is by petition only to adjoining land. No leapfrogging, none of this kind of stuff. So, it's a longer process and it's many years out yet, but past my time. But again, long-range planning is fine. I understand some of that. But you also have to deal with the people that are there in our lifetime too.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No? Thank you very much.
I'll go home.
Well, I get one deeper. I just got a question. So if that highway interchange goes in, there's like a 800-foot setback or coming down, them other three businesses, wouldn't they cut right through that property to access some other three businesses there? You're planting prairie grass or something there, that kind of go right through there? Put a interchange? I mean, I'd be a little concerned just for, it's not part of what.
Right. Do you wanna address that?
Yeah, real quick, I mean, we're getting outside the scope of the use.
Yeah, we probably are.
So when the interchange comes in, a lot of things will be looked at as Ted said, you know, backage roads potentially coming off there, so that will all be explored through that process, and that's why we made the property owners aware of that. You know, like I said, their access right now is on the north. They're aware that if the interchange comes in, their access may need to change, but those decisions, they're on notice that that's part of the process and they'll be involved, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Ted, did you wanna make one other comment?
I can just open the screen a second. I'm gonna go on. You
Okay.
guys know it because of that, but the building structure and the, driveway is up right in here, access to that property that we're talking about. When the overchange design, that preliminaries that we've seen so far is that, 59 will come down, this road will stay, but it will move over north. We'll have the loop here and an acceleration lane on this side, a loop here, and a ramp on that, the off ramp. So this structure, we've already talked about this with the county and MnDOT. This is a very grandfathered in frontage road. And I do believe the two other businesses, Alloy, Feral Gas, and the Candy Barn, will get some kind of a frontage road down there. Yeah, that's right. So these businesses at this point, with the layout that we've seen, should not be really affected.
Thank you for,
That helps a little bit.
yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for clarifying that. Okay, this is a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Wagner. If anyone would like to make comments on this application, they can come up to the podium. Please, sign in at the podium. You can also start with your name as well before you make a comment. And I don't see anyone running up to the podium right now, but, so at this point, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
I have a motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Pizza. All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Public hearing is closed. I will entertain a motion or action at this point from the board.
Mr. Chairman, based on the criteria for approval listed in the staff report, I recommend approval of the conditional use amendment for Resource Environmental Solutions LLC to operate a commercial nursery, noting that the Township of St. Lawrence has recommended approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Commissioner Cooper. Before I call for the vote, I would like the clerk make a note that Commissioner Watson had to leave this evening at the beginning of this public hearing and asked to be excused, and he was excused. So we have the six remaining commissioners are here in voting. At this time, I will call for vote. All in favor of the motion on the table, vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much for your application has been approved, and thank you very much for everyone who commented this evening. Our next item is a request for an interim use permit for a home extended business, Advanced Wall Structures Incorporated. The applicant, Terry and Patricia Connell, are the property owners in Section 24 Spring Lake Township. And Mr. Wagner, I believe, will be making a staff report again.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, on the screen, you see the site location map of the subject property. So, this property is located on Starview Lane, which is a paved Spring Lake Township road. This is located off of Mushtown Road, which is County Road 87 to the west, and south of 190th Street, so north of Cane Lake. The aerial photo of the property, hard to see. I can probably zoom in a little bit here. It's a wooded lot. Paved road, driveway coming in, house, accessory building that I'll be talking about in the presentation here. The request before you tonight is an interim use permit for Terry and Patricia Connell, to operate a home extended business, which is called Advanced Wall Structures. The applicant is here. I can let him talk a little bit more about his business. But the property is located in Section 24 Spring Lake Township and is zoned Rural Residential Reserve RR1. In the RR1 district, home extended businesses are allowed through an interim use permit. So home extended businesses are businesses that are run out of an accessory building. So the county has limited two types, because we have some new commissioners. We allow home occupations, which are run out of the actual home. And then when you have a business run out of a detached accessory building, it's called a home extended business and requires an interim use permit. For an interim use permit, there are limitations, such as having one non-resident employee working on site. So that means if you had somebody working in an office setting in the building on site, you could have one person working on site, and then 3 business associated vehicles. We typically treat a truck and trailer as one vehicle, along with any associated equipment that would be on that trailer. So you're limited to 3 business associated vehicles, and then all equipment and materials related to the business must be stored inside an enclosed structure. So you can't have any equipment or materials pertaining to the business stored outside in the rural residential area. The applicants have lived on their 10-acre property for 33 years, and per their narrative, have been operating in business since 1992. County staff was notified a few months ago that there was a business operating here without a permit. So our code enforcement officer, as typical, sends a letter saying, you know, we've been notified that there's potentially business here. here are the regulations to bring your business into compliance. So the first goal of the county is to bring somebody into compliance. If they don't make an application for their permit, then we would go through a code enforcement process. But most people, as the applicants here tonight, they submit their application for their interim use permit. In their narrative, the applicants indicated that their business is a retaining wall company, and that most of their business is seasonal. So again, during the spring, summer, fall months. And they have up to 8 employees that typically will go to a job site, but may come to the property to get equipment and supplies for that job, but the work is done off-site. It was also indicated that most of the materials that are used in the retaining wall are sent directly to the job sites. In your packet, there was a memorandum from Scott County Environmental Services that outlined some concerns with the existing septic system. The concerns outlined in that memo, we just want to point out, are related to a 1996 expansion to the home that required replacement of the system for additional living space. In addition, they believe a holding tank was installed in the accessory building without permit. The applicants were forwarded that memorandum and notified they need to address the septic compliance and holding tank prior to county board consideration. So we want to, staff would recommend that we proceed this forward and let the applicants work with our environmental services staff to address those concerns. Since there is no other improvements to the site beyond what's there already, there are no grading applications or anything required, so there's no land disturbance that would need to be reviewed as part of this application. The applicants did attend the Spring Lake Township Board meeting. This document was in your packet tonight. They attended the Township Board meeting last Thursday, March 10th, and after reviewing the application, the Spring Lake Town Board recommended approval of the request. Staff is recommending approval of the request. There are 2 conditions to be satisfied prior to county board consideration that we are recommending, and those are pertaining to the septic system issue and the holding tank issue. So we would just recommend this subject to those 2 items, so we will ensure that those are addressed before this goes to county board for final action. I would stand for any questions. The township and the applicants are both also here if you have questions for them.
Commissioner Hanson.
Mr. Chairman, Greg, when we were notified that there was a business operating without a permit, was that all of the call, or was there a complaint tied to it?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Henches, it was received by our code enforcement officer, so I'm not sure the details of it. A lot of times those are anonymous, but what he relayed to me was that there was a concern from a resident about truck traffic on the township road, and that's what brought it to our attention, and so we started that process.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wagner. Maybe additional questions. We have the recommendation from the township. Does the township want to make any other comment on the recommendation at this point?
Ted Kowalski, Spring Lake Township. I think it's important to note maybe that Terry and Patty didn't have a IUP because they started their business there, I think, before IUPs were required. They've been a great operator. I'm in the neighborhood myself. Some of the other neighborhoods are here. The township has never heard any complaints. He brings a couple trucks in a day, a couple trucks out. Great neighbor, no problems, runs a clean business, beautiful Christmas lights at Christmas. We're all in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone else who'd like to make comment on the application can come up and make comment at this point if they'd like to.
Ryan Winslow, I'm a direct neighbor. If you recall the diagram that was up there, I'm just to the west of Terry's, so I can vouch for everything that Ted just said. Noise issues, not an issue. 2 small children, never concerned about anything there. Very early in the morning, he'll take off, comes home, after dinner, so I'm here in support of his request.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Doug Krauser, also a neighbor. I'm not a direct neighbor, but, again, no problems.
Okay.
Very respectful of the neighborhood, does a good job.
Okay, thank you. Doesn't look like anyone else wants to make comments on this. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Robbins. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Pika. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
I will call for a vote. I will say that I did go to the site. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, and, the property looks beautiful. It, you know, and I've been by there many times and didn't know there was anything, a business even there, so.
Sure, could I just say one other thing?
Sure.
You know, the compelling factor in this case is that the materials and the work are done off-site.
Right.
They're not done at the site, so, I don't think of that as causing any undue noise or anything. All the noise and the hammering and everything else takes place away.
At this time, I will entertain, motion on this.
Mr. Chairman, based on the criteria for approval listed in the staff report, I recommend approval of the home extended interim use permit for Terry and Patricia Connell, noting that the recommendation is subject to the conditions that must be satisfied prior to the county board's consideration, which is the septic systems and the holding tank, and further noting that the Township of Spring Lake has recommended approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion before I call for a vote? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Been approved. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item is a request to approve a preliminary plat of Fieldstone Industrial Park, second edition, consisting of 2 lots on 9.45 acres. Messenbrink Construction and Engineering, Inc., applicant and property owner, in Section 13 of the New Market Township. Mr. Wagner will be making the staff report.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, excuse me, on the screen is the, subject property, 9.45 acre site, located in Section 13 of New Market Township. For locational purposes, County Road 46, Pillsbury Avenue is on the west boundary of the site, and on the, north side of the site is County Road 62. For a few of the commissioners on this, on the board here, Fieldstone Industrial Park was before you last summer, several meetings, in discussion for the original plat that consisted of, 10 lots on 80 acres.
Okay, just, hold on a minute. Commissioner Johnson is recusing herself from this and removing herself from the chambers at this time.
So, Mr. Chair, so Fieldstone Industrial Park was before the Planning Commission, in June, I believe July, and maybe even August last summer, for the 10 lots on 83.29 acres. That proposal, consisted of 10 lots on 83.29 acres. The preliminary plat, and development agreement were forwarded to the county board on August 17th, 2021, and were approved by the board. The development agreement, preliminary plat, were all for 10 lots. That's what was approved by the board. When it came to recording the final version of the plat, so after board authorization, the applicant had a potential tenant that required, a larger space than just one of these lots would allow. So the applicant contacted the county and said, you know, how do I combine 2 of the parcels to make a bigger lot? I need like a 9-acre lot versus 2 4.5-acre lots. So before the final plat was recorded, in consultation with the county surveyor's office, it was recommended to the applicant that he combined the 2 lots on the final plat. The reason we did it that way, actually, if I probably hop ahead, it'll make more sense. Okay. So these are the 2 lots that on this drawing are in the same geography and everything that was before the commission last summer. It was this common lot line that the applicant wanted to get rid of. And so he was advised to combine those lots on the final plat version that was signed and recorded to get rid of that common lot line. It also got rid of the 10-foot drainage and utility easements that parallel that lot line. So essentially, he did a combination before the plat was recorded. We could have done it afterwards, but then he would have had to gone back to the township to vacate those lot line easements. So moving forward to where we are now, the tenant that was potentially going to go there fell through. So the property owner, Messenbreg Construction, contacted the county and says, I have potentially 2 tenants that would each take the lots as they were originally proposed. How do I get this, split back up? So we reviewed with the county attorney, township attorney, and they recommended that we go back through the public hearing process, just so, this was all made known to all the residents in the area and just the public in general, that this is what happened and this is what's happening now. Oops. So, the applicant has thus requested to replat or resplit out lots 1 and 2, so they will be put back as you see them here. And again, this is what was approved last summer.
Right.
No changes to the configuration. They still have the building envelope that you see here. Both lots have a primary and alternate septic site. So for lot 1, those are up here, and lot 2, those are down here. Those have all been preserved through the construction of this development. And the stormwater facilities and everything with these 2 lots is the same as what was approved by this commission last summer. So we're just going through the steps to make it known, here's what happened and here's what he's asking for now, just to put it back. 10 lots was originally approved, it went down to 9, but now it's going back to 10. Staff is recommending approval of the request since there are no alterations to what was approved previously and what's here now. We did send this to Newmarket Township when we received the application in early February. We sent them the staff report 2 weeks ago ahead of their March meeting, but we did not receive a recommendation or any questions or contact from the township. I would note, pertaining to the township, that they did approve the 10-lot subdivision last summer. So they will have to sign the final plat when these Mylars are recorded, so he would need to get their signatures on that. So I would stand for any questions.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I just have one. This is pretty technical, isn't it? I mean, it's been approved, somebody wanted to use 2 lots, it fell through, so we're just crossing our T's and dotting our I's here.
Correct, Commissioner Robbins. We reviewed this with both the county attorney and township attorneys just to make sure that we're going through the right process to make sure that this is correct and the right way to do this.
All right, thank you.
No other questions, thank you, Mr. Wagner. This is a public hearing. Anyone would like to make comment on this? Step up to the podium. Okay. Very good. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Huber. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain motion or...
Mr. Chair, based on criteria for approval listed in the staff report, I recommend approval of the preliminary plat and final plat of the Fieldstone Industrial Park Second Edition consisting of 2 lots on 9.45 acres, noting this recommendation is subject to conditions of approval in the staff report to be satisfied prior to county board consideration of the plot.
I have a motion by Commissioner Huber. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Henson. Since we have had one member, who's accused herself and then another member leaving, I'm going to call for the vote, and I'll call the members. If you're in favor, vote aye, and if opposed, nay. Commissioner Henson?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Huber?
Yes.
Commissioner Pika?
Yes.
Commissioner Von Hoff? Yes. Motion passes. At this time, thank you very much. At this time, I'll go to our planning manager, Mr. Davis.
All right.
And, for the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So since our last meeting, 2 items that you recommended made it to the final board, agenda. The county board did approve on February 15th the preliminary and final plat of the 169 commercial park that created 3 lots, along 169 in Louisville Township. Jess Modine and Dean Trongard and Joe Card were the applicants for that project. Earlier this month, on March 1st, the board did adopt, the request to rezone 40 acres from UER to UERC. John and Elizabeth Tisdale is the applicant and property owner of that project in Helena Township. So that's it for, board action. A couple of other updates. County staff that you see here tonight, along with our code enforcement officer and building official, have been meeting with the townships this month. We've met with, Jackson, Louisville, Sand Creek, Helena, St. Lawrence, Blakely, and Belle Plaine so far. And what we've talked about is coordination on a lot of these planning and zoning matters, about township recommendations, the importance of those to this commission, the importance of attending this meeting in person when there are items that we know are going to be discussed, maybe not on consent, but some of the non-consent items, and we might need a little bit more context to their written recommendation. And we've talked a lot about sequence, making sure that we get our staff reports to their town supervisors prior to their meetings that they hold the first couple of weeks of the month, so that they can make a good, solid recommendation. And they've told us where we can improve. We're not always notifying all 10 townships about this meeting. We've historically just notified the townships if they've had an agenda item in their township. But we heard that our townships would like to know what's all happening on the agenda, not just on things that are happening in our township.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
So we are definitely going to improve upon that and notice out to everyone involved. We've talked about the coordination all the way from the very beginning when we have a concept and we do that development review team meeting, making sure that we're properly notifying everyone in the township. We talked about the format of that meeting. It's been mostly remote, but we're going to now start moving back to a hybrid of in-person and remote. So it's just been some really good feedback. We've documented all of the comments and ideas, and when we wrap up our final meeting, which will be here a week from now with Cedar Lake, Spring Lake, and Newmarket, once we have that meeting and we'll summarize all the comments, I'll share those with you probably at next month's meeting, and we can talk about your observations when you see those comments and anything like that. But so far, it's been really good. Next month, we are back in the county boardroom. This will be the last night we hold this meeting here. If Ted's still here,
I know.
I want to thank Spring Lake for hosting us the last 7-8 months. I forget how long it's been. But this is it. The boardroom is open. They'll be holding their first meeting tomorrow morning in not the new, but it's the same boardroom. It's just been updated. And then we'll be back there in April.
Is parking the same?
Parking is generally the same. If you park in that small lot, along Holmes Street and Fifth, I think, that's currently closed. Behind the building on the south side.
That's closed.
That's currently closed for construction. However, that will reopen soon. I'll find out when that reopens. When before the next meeting, I'll send out a note if that's opened up or not. I can't remember.
Otherwise, could you leave a trail of breadcrumbs or something to the door?
Yeah.
Door where they have a drop box, a new place.
Yes, on Atwood Avenue, that's a new entrance.
Yeah.
And all the big parking across the street from Atwood is open. There'll be street parking still, but I'll send out a note of where a good place to park is. That's a good question.
Mr. Chair, out of curiosity, Brad, Cred River, City of Cred River was the township just recently. Have they interfaced with you folks much? Their transition to, Board of Adjustment and, their issues, planning issues and that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have their own, planning commission,
Yeah.
and their city council makes their final decisions like happens in any of the cities. their own staff. But we still, the county is still the septic, authority for the city, and so any building permit still gets reviewed by county staff to make sure that, the building is not impacting the septic location, the setbacks, the drain fields, making sure that the septic system is built big enough for whatever is being proposed and compliant. So the county still has a pretty big role in septic right now in the city of Credit River. But, zoning, variances, plat, all of that is done through their own staff. There have been projects that were holdovers from the past that they'll consult with Greg or Marty, get some of those concept files and stuff, yep.
So in any place where there's septic in the city, the county gets involved with.
Correct.
Where
That's
there's
true.
Septic is not sewer and water.
Yep, that's true in Shakopee, Jordan. Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Davis, I'm just curious, and I think I probably knew this at one time. How many townships are there in this county?
Yep, there are 10 townships.
Okay.
Just another note about being back in the boardroom. We will start taping the meetings again, like we did in the past.
Okay.
So we will be, on camera. We'll have the same podium set up, the document camera, the screens in front of you, so I believe all that technology will be there.
Did the room change?
The room did not change.
Did your area change?
Our office area?
Yeah.
We used to be on the first floor, we'll be up on the third floor of that building.
Did the technology change at all in the room in terms of, like, if we're gonna do virtual meetings, or?
I think so, and I'm not sure, we haven't, I guess we'll find out tomorrow, but I guess we are supposed to bring our computers, so like when we do presentations, we'll have that ability, so that, and if the four of us have a presentation, it can run it that way, or we haven't touched
It would seem it would have been a good opportunity to move the technology a little bit, and especially like even, you know, if our meetings are gonna be hybrid always from now on, or if they're just, you know, so I don't know what the plans are, but
we will.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, but we're actually gonna be live. Yeah. Is there a 15-second delay?
There is about a 5-second delay.
There's a delay, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, or, Mr. Chair, what is hybrid, say hybrid, what do you mean by that?
Like this meeting is virtually going out and in person, okay? And so the ability to continue to do that and like, you know, when we're in the county, room, we have, it's all recorded right here, because we're talking right into a microphone to amplify and record, so if that probably is the case. And if it's gonna be live, then it wouldn't be hard to do that at all.
So I know this, but I'm just gonna say it out loud. A hybrid is where you do both of those things.
Right.
Whereas before, when it was live, it was just live.
Right. Right, but with a hybrid, people could actually, like, even tonight, people could comment and call in and talk, and we can respond to it, which we have had a few times here, even in this room. And not too often, but someone would come in and have questions, or we even had a presentation where someone made a presentation doing a public hearing, virtually. They were not here, but they were able to put it up, and so.
All right, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay.
So I'll send out notes reminding you about the location, so you don't drive here by accident. And I'll give you some parking tips and any other information we learn as we move back into the new space.
And the entrance to the buildings.
Yep.
After the buildings.
Yeah, the entrances, yeah.
Yeah, probably wanna know that.
Did we get it?
We have some really nice conference rooms right next to the boardroom. You know about the one that we always met in, but now there's even a larger one next door, so.
Okay.
I say that because we'll probably wanna do a workshop after either the April or May meeting. We'll see what the agendas look like and revisit some of the, zoning ordinance amendments around heliports, motocross tracks, and we might even have some other things that we wanna package together for discussion, so.
Do you think, and have noticed more, township, board members showing up at our meetings.
Yeah, this
And
is
for,
great. This was great.
and
It's real.
for a long time, we had a drought where nobody would show up and we wouldn't really know. Do you think that's as a result of your efforts and staff's efforts in going out and speaking and reaching out to them?
I think at least it helped for this month, yeah, because that was pretty fresh that we just,
Yeah, 'cause that really is helpful, I think, for us, you know, and these were not widely controversial issues, but when they weigh in, that, I think that has an impact on the board to hear that. Yeah, go ahead.
And
Chair, let me just ask one other thing, and I say this just because when it's happened with other groups, it makes it more understandable. Do you ever do tours? Do you ever take this board on a tour of sites around the county?
oh, Commissioner Robbins, that's a good question. It feels like we did it once a long, long time ago.
We've done it a number of times over the years.
Have we?
To actual sites. We
Well-
probably more years back.
We've done it for a specific project,
Right.
so we know it's coming on the agenda, but I don't know if Commissioner Robbins, are you just talking like a general tour of?
I'm talking about everybody being, I know there's time and money involved here, but I'm talking about all the commissioners being on it and having the staff say, let's take a tour of some of the projects and let us show you how it all kind of fits together,
Yeah.
something like that.
It's a good point. I don't think we've done anything like that.
The
in a
ones
long
we've
time.
done is just a specific site.
Yep.
Right.
Right, I appreciate it.
Yep, I'll take that under advisement
All
for
right,
that.
thanks.
could we get an updated list of all the town board members and clerks?
Yeah,
And
Yep.
maybe,
yep.
And it came to mind tonight, if we could have maybe the highway department come and talk to us at some
Yeah,
point
that's a
about
good
the
idea.
CIP.
That's a
And
good idea.
because we heard tonight about this intersection, and you can see how it impacts what we do, that's what we're looking at, I think.
I would guess if we have something like that, Greg, down the line, we try to get some from MinDOT to show us what they're planning to do.
Yeah,
If they have some preliminary plans, sounds like they do already. I don't know, but it sounds like Ed knew a lot about it.
That's really, that'd
I
be
never heard
useful.
all that.
So, I don't know if we can share that with us down the line. I'm always interested in the frontage and back of roads, because it's a headache north of Jordan for years.
So, just some,
Really good points, and I know we've had highway staff before you before on the
yeah.
TIP, the transportation plan, so I'll also include MinDOT in an invite to that. That's a really good idea.
Okay.
oh, the sidebar.
Okay.
I was on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and there was just a really interesting article in the paper, I think it was on Sunday, about cities are now promoting having, collection for waste, just,
Organic waste,
peelings
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, we haven't met now for a while, and I couldn't go in October, but we should keep plugging away trying to get that collecting waste.
Mhm.
That's Kate's,
Yeah, it is
Lot.
Kate's shop, yep, yep. Okay. Good, but, we'll see some land uses associated with that probably in the near future.
Good.
So, yeah, it's a good topic to keep
Yeah,
fresh
well,
on.
and, when, they came and talked to us about, septic systems, that was very helpful, I think, to a lot of board members. If you're not really familiar with it, and even if you have them and aren't familiar with them, there's a lot of technology in that, so that, which comes up to virtually every application that we have has some access to that. Anything else, before?
I just wanna thank our fans.
Yeah.
I'm here for the rodeo.
Nobody ever stays, and that's so fun.
Well, I'm thinking about running for the township.
Yay!
Oh, there you go.
We'll sign autographs. They don't give us the recommendation ever.
Yeah, I know, I went to their meeting last week, so, but it's great, there's a couple members that, so I'm interested at this point, but
Right.
I haven't.
It's great to see people get involved.
It is.
We like to
It
see
is.
that. We very much like to see that, so. Great. Anything else for the forum? Well, thank you very much. Thank you to the staff, thank you to everyone who attended this evening, to, Tom Wolf, our county commissioner. I need a motion motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Connell. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much. We will see you next month at the county building. The new county boardroom.
Remember that, I'll drive out here.
Yeah, you'll drive by it on the way out here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I was